Yeah, I think we're good on. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Alright. So, will I just plug my presentation when we start? Are you going to plug in? Yeah. Oh. So you can have if you have a loading slide. Oh, crap. Oh. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Wait. Cover Alex away. Not at the moment.
Alright. Oh, it's right here anyway. Alright.
Well, do you want me to start to give 5 minutes?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Might move my... Oh, I don't need my background though, really, do I?
But just to give you an introduction, I'll just do a quick introduction and then we'll get to investing in cryptocurrency. So, what is the Blockchain Center? We're a knowledge and community hub, and what we do is facilitate an ecosystem and community, and our mission is to accelerate the global adoption of blockchain technology, which is the underlying technology for cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum and Ripple out there. So what do? We do education, incubation, and community events. Just before I continue, I just forgot I would like to start off by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gathered, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their others past, present, and emerging. To continue, these are some of the other events that's happening. So Talking Trade is our weekly event with the community to talk about all the current issues that's happening with cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So it's a community of about 30 people. Sometimes we get over 100 of them coming in. But we have one on this Wednesday, 6th of May, Women in Blockchain. If you're interested in that, it's going to be talking about the different jobs and occupations and career paths for women working in blockchain. I think it's quite a lot, the same thing as what men have in blockchain, but it's just trying to get more women to participate in the blockchain ecosystem. 8th of May, we've got another Talking Trade, as I said, every Wednesday. But ZPay is one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, and they're opening up and launching here in Australia, so we're doing a soft launch for them next week on the 8th of May. The 9th of May, Blockchain Governments, I do apologize, that's wrong, the Blockchain Governments is upstairs on right now about how to do regulations in that. But on the 9th of May, next Thursday, we're doing an event which is the first class series of Block Talks. It's talking about convergence of the technology with other industries and other technologies. So next Thursday, we've got one called Combating Climate Change with TED. With the election coming up, we're going to be talking about and raising awareness about climate change policies of the government and how blockchain startups and other tech startups are working towards combating and alleviating the effects of climate change. And 15th, 22nd, and 29th is Talking Trade. After this one, if you want to know more about our events, go to our meetup page. This is our community. If you want to sign up to our community over here, we do education and introduction to blockchains, ICOs, cryptocurrencies such as this. And Anoop Chetty from Universe is one of our educators who's setting up blockchain events like Blockchain for Business or building the business case for blockchain. Next Trip Lab is from Poland, so they're doing a world tour of their Ethereum and Hyperledger development courses, and they're doing one at the end of next month. So if you are interested, please go to our website, blockchaincenter.com.au, and you'll know more about how to do that, and there are still some spaces available for that. It's a 2-day course if you are a developer, someone who's developing blockchain. This is the course for you. As I said, the underlying technologies of blockchain, these are some of the startups that's working with us. If you want to know some of the applications, this is accounting, health, hospitality, agriculture, carbon emission reductions, point of sale system, music, and social media. So it ranges quite a lot and wide gamut of different industries, different fields. We're not for profit, so we have our sponsors at Digital Age Blockchain Global and some of our industry partners. And I would also like to thank Stone Joe for hosting this event for us tonight. Although there are 3 other events here.
We'll be checking
if you want to know more about our events and you are active on social media, please follow us in all those accounts. And one of our other community members that is in the blockchain center ecosystem is creating greeting cards of Bitcoin. So if you are having a celebration coming up, or if you want to give the gift of Bitcoin, or if you start getting so much knowledge here that your portfolio increases and you want to just give some Bitcoin out there. But for now, thank you so much for listening to me. I've got cards at the table. If you want to know more about the Blockchain Center, please talk to me at the end. I'll be around after this. But thank you all again for coming, and please help me in welcoming your tutor, your guide, your guru tonight is Joe Shu.
Thank you. So just whilst we quickly set this up, if anyone hasn't been to the bathroom, needs the bathroom, it's just down the end here on the left. There is water at the back. We're going to be in here for the next couple of hours, so it's important to stay hydrated. I don't want anyone being parched, so if you want to grab some water, feel free to do so now. Also, as I said, we will be spending the next couple of hours in here together. So if you want to take a couple of minutes just to introduce yourself to the people around you, so you feel comfortable and understand why people are here, and start understanding who else is in the community. So if you want to take a quick second just to say hi, push yourself out your comfort zone, it looks to some people, but just quickly introduce yourself to the people around you. And we will get ready to kick off. It doesn't matter, I can't bother to get people to start moving and stuff. Give time for
I just wanted to escape Germany. Let's go to Australia for a year. Yes.
I was in Berlin January 1st.
Did you like it?
When I first got there, I was a little bit, so it was the day after New Year's Eve, and it was crazy. It literally looked like a bomb had hit. There was stuff everywhere, fireworks, broken bottles, I couldn't believe it. And then when I started, we went to Sachsenhausen, the concentration camp, and did a tour around the city, and it was incredible. Yeah, it was really quite breathtaking when you did a tour around. And
everyone I talked to went to Berlin and is from Melbourne, said Berlin is really similar to Berlin.
Yeah, in some ways, definitely.
But yeah. It must have been dirty when you were there.
Yeah, it's very, yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, now everyone has made friends. Let's actually get into it. Let's have some fun. All right, so for those of you that don't know me or haven't met me before, my name's Joe Hsu. I run Crypto Consulting Institute, and tonight I'll be going through actually how to start creating wealth in cryptocurrencies, but more importantly, how to do it in a safe manner, because a lot of people aren't teaching the safety aspects of investing in cryptocurrency, and that's why a lot of people are losing a considerable amount of wealth through that process. And I'll share a story. I've been a victim to this when I first started investing over 5 years ago now, and I made some mistakes in the beginning, and they've cost me a lot of money, an extortionate amount of money in today's value. But luckily I learned a lot of things after that. I invested in my own mentors, which I'll talk a bit more about tonight, and I put myself in a better position and made some pretty cool returns. So this is a workshop. You'll notice there's books in front of you, and the books are there for you guys to make notes. I invite you to take notes so you actually leave with something from the workshop, rather than have a head full of information, then don't actually go and implement it, because there's things that you'll learn tonight that you can go away and action and get results on, and that's the purpose of this. But why I make it a workshop instead of just an event where you sit here and listen to me is it's important that you actually engage and take stuff away. And I'll be asking you guys questions throughout this evening where I would love for you to make some notes, and again, it's up to you, but it's important to really start taking this on board and understanding why you're here. And that's why I like to open up with why are you guys here, and what outcome do you actually want from this evening and this workshop tonight. So if you want to take 30 seconds to write down and think of a couple of ideas as to why you're here and what you really want to get out of tonight, that'd be awesome. There's no trick questions either. And I'll explain shortly in a bit more detail why I like to ask this question. All right, awesome. So, what you will actually learn from this event this evening. So first of all, I'll go through knowledge, so you guys are in a position of actually understanding, if you're about to invest into the industry, understanding why you may want to, which is really important, and having the knowledge of what you're investing in will position you to actually create wealth in the space. The next thing is how to eliminate risk and best position your investment. I don't know if anyone has invested. Has anyone actually invested in cryptocurrencies in the room? Yeah, a few of you. So what I found is people didn't want to miss the bus, so to speak. So they rushed into investing, and they didn't have half an idea of knowledge of what they're investing into. They didn't understand how to actually minimize their risk, how to safely store investment strategies, and that is why the majority of people that have invested, even into a market that went up 4,000% in a year, actually came worse off. It's because they didn't have a number of principles and pillars, which I'll go through this evening, set in place to actually position themselves to make money. This market has outperformed every other market in the world 15 times over. We've never seen a market perform like this one ever before as a whole. So that is when I start questioning, why are so many people still losing money in the space? And it comes down to understand the foundation of why they're investing, and that's what I'll cover this evening. So the next thing I'll go through is one non-complex strategy that my clients have used to create multiple six-figure profits in this space. One strategy that you can leave here this evening understanding and how to be ahead of the market. Finally, I'll touch on a blueprint and some strategies for being a value investor. And I'll go through the different types of investors in the space that I see right now and that I've seen over the last few years. If you do have any questions throughout this evening, feel free to put your hand up. or shout out. You don't have to put your hand up if you don't want to. And just ask away. If it's something I'll be covering off later in the event, I'll let you know. If it's something that's better off spoken about in person with me at the end, I'll also let you know. Otherwise, I'll answer it on the spot. Yes, please.
You mentioned there's still a lot of losers, or there's a lot of losers in the market. For every loser, there's a winner. Is that why returns have been so, one of the reasons returns have been so great?
So the question is, from every loser, there's a winner. So,
That's right, isn't it?
well, I would disagree with that. I wouldn't necessarily say it's always the case that if someone's losing it, that someone else is winning. And I know that's the general idea of a bubble. If you buy, someone else has bought at a different level, etc. But the amount of investors, if you look at when they invest, and I'll show you graphs later, you can see the majority of the market was buying at the peak. And that's when the price was obviously pumped up and the majority of the people have sold at a lower point. And that's, what's that?
The winners
The winners.
were selling at the peak.
Yeah.
Well, loads of people were buying at the peak, well, the same number of people were selling at the peak.
Yeah. So we'll cover this off tonight. That's why the value of the market pushed up. Cool. So one thing I want to be clear on, there's nothing to buy here tonight. I've been to enough events in the past and someone gets you really excited and then they get you to run to the back of the room waving their credit cards. And that is not how I like to operate my business. I'm in a fortunate enough position where I don't need any new clients. I do this because I'm passionate about helping people not make the same mistakes I did and also create the future that they truly desire. I have an application process. It'd be irresponsible if I didn't have something to offer you guys, but as I said, it's an application process only to come on board and work with me, and that's something I can share at the end with you guys. So, as an overview, what is tonight about? It's really about the fastest path to cash in cryptocurrency, creating wealth today and minimizing your risk at the same time. There's a lot of investments that you can do which might be suitable for 5 years, 10 years, but in a market like this, you do not need to wait, and it's about identifying which investments to make. And that's something I'll go through tonight. So, if this wants to play, oh, sorry, let me go back. So a question for you guys, something that's really important to me is travel. I love traveling around the world and I'm in a fortunate enough position where I get to travel a lot now. So if you guys created wealth, what are the 3 places that you would love to travel to that you haven't been in a position? This was actually pretty scary. I don't know if anyone else has. Yeah, in Queenstown. It's a good idea to start writing down and having an idea and planning out. If you had the wealth, what would you do with it? Where would you go? As I've said, to me, traveling is a huge part of my life. I've just got back from 2 weeks up in the Gold Coast. I spent 6 weeks in Europe at the start of the year. I fly to London next week. I've been to Adelaide. I fly all over the world whenever I want because I'm in a position to do so. And it never used to be like that, trust me. I was working 7 till 7, 5, sometimes even 6 days of the week. So if you want to take a second just to write down 3 places that you would love to go either on your own or take your family, and actually have an idea of what you're working towards. Because why I get people to start thinking about this, imagine a GPS in a car. You're sitting on your driveway and you've got a sat nav. Unless you tell that sat nav where to go, then you're not going to have any direction, right? So it's about having an idea of what do I want? Where do I want to go? And I'm sure a lot of you in the room have set goals. But it's important to have that clarity as to why you are doing this, to keep you focused and keep you driving forwards. I flew my dad and myself to Rome over in, that was just before Christmas, and took Brooke, my partner, over to Berlin and hung out in some pretty cool places with him, which is something that's, as I said, really important to me. But what's more important than that is who I spend my time with, because when it comes to actually creating wealth, it gives you freedom. Money gives you freedom. That is exactly what money, or it gives me freedom. It gives me freedom of choice, freedom of who I spend my time with, freedom of what I do and when I do it. So I get to, James is now 9 months old, and that is a real owl, by the way. It's quite crazy. I went to my friend's house and sitting in the living room, he had an owl, which is quite unusual. But I get to hang out with James all the time now, whereas I never had this opportunity before. And that's something that's really important to me, and I want you guys to understand, for you, who, if you had the opportunity to, would you spend more time with? Because time is finite. We're on a countdown clock without sounding too extreme. So who are you wanting to spend more of your time with if you had the opportunity to, because you're not stuck at work doing what most people don't really enjoy doing because you have to get ends to meet. It's not about that. You don't have to live in this way. You can create whatever you want. But I'll tell you a quick story as to something that I touched on at the start. This is my dad, Alan, or Big Al as I call him, and he's the reason I got into crypto. So when I was probably about 10 years old, I remember it very clearly. I went up to my dad when he was standing in the kitchen, and I said to him, "Dad, I don't ever get to see you." That's because he was working 3 jobs just trying to get ends to meet. Like most people, not necessarily 3 jobs, but most people are working 1, if not 2 jobs, and my dad was working 3 jobs just to get ends to meet in London. Because I don't know if anyone's been to London, it's pretty expensive to live there. So I turned around and I said, "I never get to see you." And I'm a dad now, and I could imagine my son saying that to me. It would crush me. So I said to myself at that point, I never want to live the same way that my dad did. And I'm so grateful. He's the most amazing man that I've ever met. But I don't want to live the same life that he did. So 2 years later, he had a stroke and nearly died because, excuse me, because of how he was working so hard just to try to get ends to meet, and it does not have to be this way. So at 12 years old, I started investing in the London Stock Exchange, every single dollar or pound that I had, because I wanted to help support my family and myself and my future so we didn't have to live this way. And it doesn't have to be like that for anyone here. That's what led to my career in finance. That's what led to me investing heavily into stocks and shares. And then when I found out about cryptocurrencies 5 years ago, that's what led me to invest heavily into that, because stocks and shares were never going to get me the returns that I wanted. If I had a good year, 20-25%. That is never going to get me, or never was going to get me where I wanted to. So I started looking at alternative markets. I started looking at mining the moon, printing organs. You can do crazy stuff now, but the return on that wasn't going to bring me what I wanted here, right here, today and now. So I looked at cryptocurrencies, and that's where I heavily moved into. And as I said, I made a lot of mistakes at the start, but it all worked out pretty well for me in the longer term because I understood what to do. And that's some of what I'll be touching on tonight. And just quickly before we kick off, here's a quick video of some things that I've done. I've spoken at Barclays Bank in London. I've been on TV a few times. I don't know if anyone follows any of the stuff that I do. This is the old blockchain centre that I spoke at. I've been on Channel 10, that was David O'Shea, and spoke at some cool events around the world with some of the biggest names in crypto globally. So it's been quite a fun journey for me over the last few years that I've been working in the space and helping investors like you guys understand how to actually navigate the space safely and create returns. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into it. So, a question for you guys. Who's brave enough to tell me what blockchain is? Anyone in the room?
It's a ledger of transactions
Yeah?
that's shared with everybody.
Yeah, awesome. Great. So the only thing that you missed out there is a decentralized network, which is probably one of the most important factors. And I'll explain why decentralization is so important in today and for businesses and companies and how they can benefit from this. Exactly as you said, it's a digital ledger. So if you think of an accountant back in the day, they would have had a book with debits and credits on. That book then went effectively online for everyone to have access to. So it's a public network, and there are private blockchains, but predominantly public networks where you get to see and have access to all the information that's stored online. And I'll explain why that's so important and beneficial. All of the transactions that take place on the blockchain are immutable, which means that you cannot go in and undo the transaction. So if we think about a credit card chargeback, for example, that's where you can go in and undo a transaction that's taken place. Any transaction, so the first transaction, January, I think it was 3rd, 2009, that happened on the Bitcoin blockchain, we can go in and see that transaction if we want to. So you have full transparency to everything that's ever happened. It's a trustless system. So what trustless means, I do not have to trust anyone in the room. You don't have to trust me to do a transaction. So that's financial, if I was to send you some Bitcoin. That's real estate, if I was to send you, if we were to do a real estate transaction, I don't have to trust you, you don't have to trust me for that transaction to actually happen and take place, which is really cool, because if you think about most of the transactions that we do nowadays, we've got some sort of lawyer or solicitor sitting in between to verify and validate the transaction and its authenticity of both parties. And it only allows the authentic transaction. So what this comes down to is double spending. Has anyone heard of double spending before? It means where you can spend the same dollar twice. So to explain this, if I was to walk into a cafe with a $10 note and buy a coffee, I cannot get that $10 note back. It's in the till. With earlier forms of digital currency, you could go in and spend effectively the same dollar twice. Blockchain will only allow and authorize the one authentic transaction, and it will deflect all others. And I'll show you a funny video coming up shortly, which kind of shows you the challenges that we have with our current fiat currency right now. Yes? So it wasn't, they didn't have a form of only validating the one legitimate transaction. So people could just replicate a transaction. There was no way to validate or authorize that taking place, whereas the blockchain will only allow the one authentic transaction to take place. Thanks for the question. All right, so I've spoken about decentralization and the importance of decentralization, and I'll touch on a few things now. The first being peer-to-peer communication. This is the first time ever where we've been able to communicate value from one person to another without an intermediary sitting in the middle saying yes or no to the transaction. So if I want to send my parents money in the UK, right now, if I used a bank, that would have to go through the bank. They would have to verify it, and they would sit on it for 5 days, charge quite a substantial amount of fees to do that transaction. Whereas right now, I send my parents Ripple straight to the UK. It costs me fractions to do the transaction for tens and tens of thousands of dollars worth. And they get that instantaneously in their bank, or in their Ripple account, I should say, and they have access to spend that. So that's really powerful, and that's where we've moved forward. And the same as I used the property example before, I can do peer-to-peer transaction of properties now, which is really cool. Trust is built inside the network. Therefore, you don't have to rely on any third party in order to verify and validate a transaction. Because it is decentralized, so I don't want to confuse anyone, but there's over 10,000 people running the Bitcoin blockchain, which means it's a decentralized network. So if you tried shutting down part of the network will still operate. If I shut down a bank, the bank would stop operating, and that's why banks spend trillions of dollars, or billions of dollars, I should say, every single year on cybersecurity, because they're susceptible to being hacked, because they're all held in one location. A honeypot is another word for it. And governance decisions are made and controlled within the network. It's a decentralized framework, so it's not controlled by a few people at the top that make a decision what they want to do effectively. It's controlled by the network and the people that run the network, and everyone in the room has the opportunity to be one of the full nodes that run part of the network. So a question, what industries do you think are being affected right now by the blockchain? Any idea? Just shout out some things that come to mind, and I've touched on two. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Electricity generation sharing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Power ledger. Yeah. Anything else?
Supply chain, healthcare, pretty much everything.
Bang. That's what I was looking for. Pretty much every single industry in the world right now is being affected by blockchain. And I'll show you a breakdown of a chart of where the investment's going right now. So it's quite scary. This is why it's called the Internet 2.0, which is something I'll touch on in a second. It's because the internet changed everything. It changed the complete way that we operated. And it's exactly what's about to happen with blockchain technology. It will change the way every single industry in the world right now is operating. So here's an example of $8 billion businesses right now that are integrating blockchain technology. So Bank of China, and Bank of America, well, Bank of America in particular, have the highest patents on blockchain technology for credits in the world right now. We've got Apple, who have recently rolled out blockchain technology for their supply chain. Microsoft's been accepting Bitcoin for payment online since 2014. Interesting, I don't know how long anyone's been in the crypto industry. JP Morgan has recently released their own coin, JPM coin. In 2017, Jamie Dimon, the global CEO of JP Morgan, called Bitcoin a fraud. In 2018, he retracted his statement. In 2019, he released his own coin. It's one of the biggest financial institutions in the world who sees why he needs to be a part of this technology and actually integrate the coin. Same as Warren Buffett. He called it a mirage, and now he uses it in his supply chain, which is really interesting. So some pretty big companies that are backing this technology right now and actually using it. I think Amazon is soon to release something as well. Something interesting to point out, Wells Fargo, same as Western Union. Now, particularly in the UK, not so much here, so what I see, but in the UK, there's a lot of people that come over from developing countries, and they come over to the UK to make some money so they can send that back to their families. They live a very frugal lifestyle, and they send all their money back to their families so they can live effectively. Western Union and Wells Fargo, because most of these people don't have bank accounts because they can't open one, which is roughly 2 billion people in the world right now that do not have a bank account because they can't access one. They have to go to the post office and use Western Union, Wells Fargo to make the money transfer. The person on the other end goes to the post office, picks the money up. These guys charge 18% to do that transaction because they do not have any other choice. They can send the cash in the post, but the currency needs to be converted. So there's so many challenges that people are facing that we don't see right now because we're living a privileged lifestyle. But the people that are really getting the benefit from this are people in places like Zimbabwe, where they have 30,000% hyperinflation overnight or during the day, where you go down with a wheelbarrow to buy a loaf of bread during the day, and then at night you can't even go down there because you need so many bags full of money. It is quite crazy what's actually happening in the world, and how things like Bitcoin and Ripple and Petrocoin and all these other cryptocurrencies that are actually out there to try and help issues like this be solved. So it's helping on so many different levels, which is really powerful. So the next question, what are cryptocurrencies? Any short, easy definition? I'm not looking for anything technical. Anyone want to have a guess? Please.
They're currencies which are rely on blockchain to manage their transactions.
Yeah, awesome. Yep. So I like to keep it nice and easy and say it's digital money. That's a real easy explanation. If anyone asks me what cryptocurrency is, I say it's a form of digital money. What I really tell people cryptocurrency is, it's everything people don't understand about money and technology combined. That is what cryptocurrency is, and that's why so many people are getting scammed and making bad investments, because they don't understand it. It is a very complex thing on the surface when you're trying to invest into it. If you don't understand what you're investing into, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're better off going down the casino to invest. That's why investing into knowledge and education is so essential to your success. So, as this kind gentleman touched on, it's built on the blockchain, which has all the benefits of decentralization, which I've touched on. It's an inflationary currency. So why I put this point up, does anyone know what quantitative easing is? Yep. So in 1971, Nixon in the US, the president de-paired gold from the US dollar. In this process, he basically allowed people to print money because it's not backed by anything. So with the printing of money comes the devaluation of a currency. With currencies like Bitcoin, they have a hard cap of 21 million coins. You will never be able to produce any more than 21 million coins. Therefore, based on supply and demand, if we know that at a point it's finite, there will not be any more produced, if the demand goes up for it and the supply does not increase, what naturally would happen to anything? The value has to go up, right? And it's not to say Bitcoin is necessarily the coin of the future. I'm not standing here saying that, but I'm giving the example as to why our current monetary system is broken and why cryptocurrencies are answering this question, or how they're answering this question. And finally, a global, or not finally, there's one other point, a global currency. So I travel around the world and I use Bitcoin or other forms of currency as and when I can. When I go to Brisbane, I live off Bitcoin because Fortitude Valley accepts Bitcoin pretty much everywhere now, which is really cool.
What currency do you use?
I'll show you a process in a minute. In Japan, there's over 280,000 merchants accepting Bitcoin. I don't know if anyone's heard of Agnes Waters. There's a whole town 5 hours north of Brisbane, and real estate. I've been scuba diving. You can get to and from the airport. Everything is paid for in cryptocurrencies, which is really cool. Same as in London, it's growing exponentially around the world. People can actually spend cryptocurrency, not just store it as I guess a point of value. You can use it as a currency, and that's what we'll start to see more and more as people start to adopt it, so do merchants as well. Finally, the point that I touched on already, there's nearly 2 billion people in the world right now that are unbanked, and they will never be able to become banked because they don't have ID, they live in extreme rural locations, or the government won't allow them to create a bank account, the banks won't allow them to create a bank account, which is really sad. Why should we discriminate against people? Why should people not have the ability to create a bank account if they have the opportunity to, but they can't? So, great example here, Kenya. 1/3 of Kenyans now have a Bitcoin wallet, 1/3 of Kenya. So with that being said, they use a currency called M-Pesa. Has anyone heard of M-Pesa? It's phone credit, and they text it to each other, and they use that as their currency, which is pretty crazy, right? And that's because their own currency was so unstable. So they now have access to a Bitcoin wallet. That being said, they now can transact on a global, oh, it sounds fun out there. They can now transact on a global scale. I accept Bitcoin, I can do transactions with Kenyans now. I don't accept M-Pesa, so that's obviously a broken currency that they can only use within their country, and they can't go and exchange that for any other currency as well because it's not accepted, it's not exchanged. So that's one really cool example of accessibility for everyone now. Does anyone think that's pretty cool? Yeah? All right. So I touched on this briefly, the Internet 2.0. This is what cryptocurrencies or blockchain as well has been referred to. So over the past 20 years, or just more than 20 years now, the internet really had three-dimensional shifts. The first was user behavior. So internet-only companies were being created. I do not have to go to Woolworths to do my shopping if I don't want to. I can click a few buttons and hit reorder if I want to, and I can get stuff delivered to my doorstep, or meal plans, or whatever you want. I can buy services, products, anything you want, you can do online now. The next thing is government adoption. So who here thinks when the internet was very first created, does anyone think countries, governments were using the internet when it was very first created? No, no way, of course it wasn't, because they didn't understand it, they didn't know what it was. Right now, I believe the ATO has already rolled out blockchain technology, and as we've seen a number of the companies that are using it, and there's a number of global businesses and governments that are really adopting this technology right now today. So you can start to see where we're at in terms of the lifetime cycle, whereas the internet had a lot slower growth, and I'll talk about why. Industries will radically change. So right now, if you own a business and you're not on the internet, then you're losing opportunity for new customers. I don't know any company right now that doesn't have some form of internet presence, just like a shop front presence in singularity. So 5 years from now, and I keep changing this number, it was 10 years from now, but when I started learning about how many governments are actually adopting blockchain technology and how there's so many merchants now adopting this, and we've seen $8 billion businesses that are adopting this technology, that's not 5 years. That's no way is that 5 years anymore. I push that down to probably even 3 years now, and I can guarantee as we get closer, that time frame will get shorter. And that's because we have something called the internet. The internet is an exchange of information, and cryptocurrencies are an exchange of value. That's the difference. So with things like social media, I'm sure a lot of people saw through the bubble. It was everywhere on social media, on Google, in the media, on newspapers. And that is the benefit of the internet. You can get a message out and spread it with so many people almost instantaneously. When the internet was first created, it was so slow being adopted because it was in newspapers, on television, and it took so long for that to actually have any form of traction in place. That's why the time frame and the scale of that is shortening. At the start of 2017, 7% of Australians knew what Bitcoin was. By the end of 2017, 84% of Australians knew what Bitcoin was in 1 year because of the internet. It's pretty cool. So, market observations. Being in the industry quite a while now, I typically see 4 different profiles of investors. The first is day traders. So we saw a big hype of day traders coming through, and unfortunately I saw a number of people that quit their jobs and they went trading day trading, as a full-time job. And the reality is the people were investing and trading in a market that was going up. It almost didn't matter what you were putting your money into, it was going up, because of people's overinflated expectations of the market. And when the market started to correct, all the people that weren't skilled started losing significant amounts of money. So the reality is, unless you are probably 3 to 5 years experienced at least in other markets and understand the full principles and fundamentals of day trading, this is the quickest way to lose your money. People think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-poor-quick scheme, because you will lose your money so quickly if you do not understand what you're doing. And this is a 24-hour market. It does not shut. And it's the most volatile market we have seen. So taking those points into consideration, unless you really understand what you're doing, you're putting yourself in a pretty difficult position to lose some serious wealth pretty quickly. The next thing I see is hope investors, and I would say this is probably where the majority of the markets sit. A hope investor is someone who throws their money into the market, hoping that the coins that they invested in will go up because Dave down the pub told them that it's a great investment, or they heard it somewhere on YouTube and they think, oh, why not? I'll have a punt. That's quite scary because people sometimes get results and then they think, oh, it's like the casino. You go in the casino for the first time and somehow you always seem to win. And then you think, oh, I can win more, and then your investment gets bigger and bigger, but your education has never improved. So you kind of stay in the same position and your investment increases, putting yourself in a more leveraged position, which is pretty scary. And honestly, I'd say probably 80% of the market sit there. Third is sideliners. So these are people that will watch this opportunity go past because they're scared, they're in a place of fear, they feel that they don't have the education and knowledge to do so, which is obviously no one in the room here tonight because you're up-leveling your education by being here. But these are the people that typically have watched other opportunities go past, they'll watch this opportunity go past and they'll watch other opportunities go past, and it comes down to their mindset. And that's the biggest thing that we all need to work on and shift. And finally, value investors. These are the people that are educated, they have knowledge, they have strategies, they've got principles, and they follow them, and that is how they get results. I call it a rinse, cycle, repeat method. They understand what they're doing, they go through, they follow a method, they have some tweaks, 1% shifts, they go through and they rinse, cycle, repeat, the same method over and over. It's like tightening the strings on a guitar. When you play it, the strings get looser, it needs to be tensioned again, to stay on track. It's the same with investing in cryptocurrency in any market in the world. So I want to share the truth with you because not a lot of people share the truth in cryptocurrency. Everyone tells you about how well they've done, and they'll tell you about all the gains they've made, but no one will really tell you about the challenges, about the downfalls and the shortcomings of the space. And some of the reasons people actually lose money in the space, or the majority of reasons people lose money in the space. So 5 key risks. The first thing is people mismanage their investments, and this is one of the big reasons. 23% of Bitcoin, which is off the top of my head roughly $30 billion US, has been mismanaged. That means people have sent it to the wrong address, they can't gain access to that part of the blockchain anymore where their cryptocurrencies are because they've lost their private key, they bought some, they don't know how to regain access. It's quite scary, the amount of people that have gone through this process. As I said, that's $30 billion US just in Bitcoin. There's over 2,000 coins. So that's a significant amount of money that they will never be able to access again. That is gone. There's no bank hotline to call to say, hey, I lost my card or my access. It doesn't work like that. This is gone forever. So it's something to really take quite serious. The next thing is getting scammed. So roughly 55% of ICOs coming into the space fail. Of the 55%, 60% of them are scams. And that ties back into the point of cryptocurrencies, everything people don't understand about money and technology combined. So they are prey for people that are knowledgeable in the space and can easily go in and hack them. One misconception, cryptocurrencies get hacked. No, they do not. Businesses that operate around cryptocurrencies get hacked. And that is how people using platforms like exchanges, which I'll touch on, that is where people are susceptible to being hacked and their cryptocurrencies being taken. So I'll touch on that again just to make sure we understand that. Making costly investment decisions, so not having a strategy in place, hope investing, throwing your money into the market, into a coin that you don't understand much about, and not also having entry and exit points or a formulated strategy as to what you want in terms of a return. Touching on that point. And finally, going back to sideliners, the people that are going to miss out on huge opportunities, that is a risk. It is a risk because this is a market we've never seen before, and it's not going to be here forever. So the risk of sitting on the sideline and missing out on this opportunity because you're in a place of fear because you don't understand how to do it, don't invest if you don't understand, but go and get educated and understand how to do it and put yourself in a position to create wealth. All right. Question. What does it take? There's one thing I'm looking for in particular. What does it take to be a successful cryptocurrency investor? Any ideas? Yeah, that's one thing. Anything else? Yeah, anything else? That's one of them, but what's the main thing that I'm looking for? There's one thing that stands above all others. Sorry? What was that?
Strategy.
Strategy, cool. All right, we're dancing around it, so I hit the nail on the head. So I'm about to run through 5 pillars. These pillars are in order, and I highly invite you to follow the process through. The majority of people skip the first 2 pillars, jump straight to the third, and that is why they lose money. So this is in order for a specific reason, and I'll go through it now. The first pillar is the foundation. This is the building block. So if we build a house and we don't put in any footings and foundations, the house will fall over at some point. It will sink into the ground and it will fall over. So without the foundations, you're not putting yourself in a position to create wealth in cryptocurrencies for the long term. And it comes down to this. It's 80% investor psychology and mindset and 20% strategies. Question, if I gave everyone in the room the same strategy, would everyone get the same outcome? Why? Because of the mindset. Some people are ready to move forward and take action, and some people aren't. And that's the difference. That is why it's so important to understand and be in a powerful position with your mindset when you invest into anything. Because you don't want to be subject to market fluctuations and invest when everyone else is and do what everyone else is doing. You need to position yourself well to actually create wealth, and that comes through the mindset. So I'll share with you 3 key shifts to be aware of. The first is emotion versus strategy. If you don't have a strategy, you become an emotional investor. When you're an emotional investor, you will ride the market, or let me rephrase that, the market will ride you. And when the market's up, you'll start to do certain activities. When the market's down, you'll start to do certain activities. And you will base your investment decisions based on how you feel. That is the worst place to be in, and that is probably the #1 reason the majority of the market bought Bitcoin, sadly, when it was nearly $20,000 US. Because they had no strategy set in place and it was all based upon their emotion. The next thing is awareness versus ignorance. So this ties into the awareness of what's happening in cryptocurrencies and outside as well, and historical events, not being ignorant to it. So why I say this is when the market went through the bubble, people were ignorant. They were looking at cryptocurrencies and they were seeing people buying new Lamborghinis and buying new houses, and they thought, this is it, it's going to the moon, was a phrase that was getting thrown around. They were ignorant to what was about to happen next. They couldn't see it because they were blinded by what everyone else was doing, what everyone else was saying, and they didn't want to miss out, and they got really excited. I'll show you examples of this tonight when we get into the investing part. When you're aware of what's actually happening, what is going on not only inside of cryptocurrency, outside in the historical events, that is what will position you to be a successful investor. Do not get caught up in the hype. That is the worst position to be in. Be aware of what's happening and make an investment decision based on that, not based on what everyone else is doing. And finally, education versus speculation. Yes?
Sorry, did you know it was a hype joke?
Let me touch on that later when we go through the investing part, and I'll show you why I knew. So education versus speculation. As I've touched on, you're better off going down the casino and putting all your money on red if you really want to invest into cryptocurrencies without understanding what you're doing. You've got better odds, I promise you now. but you have better odds of creating life-changing amounts of money if you understand what you're investing into in cryptocurrencies. As I said, this is a market we've never seen any other perform like this. So we're in a position to create wealth, but as I said, very few people actually are because they're not educated around what they're doing. All right, so pillar 2, risk minimization. So question for everyone in the room, put your hands up if you think cryptocurrency is stored in a wallet, whether that's a phone wallet, hardware wallet, even on an exchange wallet, let's say. Who thinks cryptocurrency is stored in a wallet? Yeah?
What's the question?
Who thinks cryptocurrency is stored in a wallet? Whether that's a software wallet on your phone, like a Bitcoin software wallet, a hardware wallet, that you can store cryptocurrencies on, an exchange. Who thinks cryptocurrency is stored in a wallet? Cool. So this is one of the biggest misconceptions in cryptocurrency. Your cryptocurrency is not stored in a wallet, and damn whoever called it a wallet. That's very unfortunate because that is very misleading to everyone. Your cryptocurrency is stored on the blockchain and never leaves the blockchain. What's stored in your wallet is your access to your part of the blockchain. Does everyone understand that? Because that's very important. Yeah? Awesome. Cool. So 2 types of storage. These are how to store your cryptocurrencies. They're called hot and cold, but it confused me, so I like to keep it nice and non-complex and understandable for people. There's online and offline storage. Online is simply anything that's connected to the internet. Offline is simply anything that is not. That is the easiest way to understand it. So with that being said, there's different forms of ways that you can store your cryptocurrency. The first is on an exchange. Never leave your cryptocurrency on an exchange. You do not own your private key. If you do not own your private key, you do not own your access to your part of the blockchain. The exchange does. There's been over 3 dozen cases of exchanges being hacked. This is where the hacking comes in. Exchanges get hacked because they act like a bank. They effectively hold people's cryptocurrency, the same as a bank holds our Australian dollars. And people can go in and hack the exchanges or fraudulent activity. There's Mt. Gox. The owner stole 750,000 Bitcoin. There's another guy that miraculously went missing not so long ago, and $200 million worth of cryptocurrencies disappeared. They had 6 wallets and 5 of them are empty. One's not, and the guy's dead / not found. So exchanges are great. They serve as a way to exchange Australian dollars into cryptocurrencies, or one crypto to another, Bitcoin to Ethereum, but never store your cryptocurrency on an exchange. And I know I've said this a few times now, I'm just drilling in the point, because so many people lose money from storing their money on an exchange, and then when something happens to the exchange, they wonder why they can't access their cryptocurrency. There's no insurance policy, there's no backup, it's gone.
Would it be the same for decentralized exchanges?
Decentralized exchanges don't hold your cryptocurrency. So it's not held by a centralized pot. These are held by centralized companies like Coinbase and etc. that hold it.
You're trading with the decentralized exchanges, that's fine, right?
Yeah, because it's decentralized. There's no, so that comes back to all the benefits of being decentralized. There's no central point of attack. That's a big thing and benefit of blockchain. Exchanges aren't decentralized typically, the majority of them. There are some decentralized exchanges. So this is the video someone asked around how to spend your cryptocurrency. So this is a software wallet. So I hold Bitcoin on my phone, and here the shop pulls up a QR code. I scan the QR code on my phone. I go through and $9.75, authorize the transaction, it sends across. They get a green tick on the screen in a second. As you can see, they accept Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. So they accept a few different types of cryptocurrencies, and that's it. The transaction is done, and now I receive my coffees that I was waiting for. Now, there are also cards. So 10x has a card where you can upload your cryptocurrency onto the card. You can spend that on any FPOS and it will do an automatic transaction from crypto into Australian dollars then and there, so you don't necessarily need a machine like they had in order to accept it. 10x, TENX. So one thing that's really yes?
Sorry, what about the Monaco card?
Yeah, so Monaco is another form of the card. So 10x, Monaco, yeah, same sort of principle. So something really interesting, I said cryptocurrencies cannot be duplicated. And this wasn't positioned here. I found it after I watched the video a couple of times. I was like, what's that? It's a warning for people that are counterfeiting $50 notes. You can counterfeit our current monetary system. You can copy anything, you can clone it. Enough people have. You cannot clone and copy any other cryptocurrency. It's not possible, which is really cool. So software wallets, sorry, I'll go back, I didn't actually explain too much about that. So software wallets are a type of wallet that is stored typically on your phone or can be on your laptop as well. It is still connected to the internet, so do be careful, you are susceptible to being hacked. So I wouldn't store all of my cryptocurrency on here. But why it's great, if I travel around the world, I can spend my cryptocurrency where I want. Very easy to spend if you use a card, or you can use a software wallet. Someone in the room tonight is lucky enough to win some free Bitcoin. So I will get you to download a software wallet, and I will send some Bitcoin to you here tonight, and you can all watch how that transaction takes place if you haven't seen it before. Exciting, hey? So third way is what's called cold storage, so it's offline. And this is what's called a paper wallet. Can anyone see two challenges that paper wallets have straight away? Yeah, exactly, so it's paper. Second one? Yeah, so lose them, burn. It's got all your information on here. So it's got both your public key, which is your address. A public key is something that you can give anyone access to. It's like an account number in BSB. If I wanted you to send me some money, I give you my account number, you send it to me. That's exactly what a public key is. A private key is like me giving you my bank card and then telling you my PIN. You can then obviously go to ATM, put in my PIN and withdraw money. That is what a private key is. It's called private for a reason.
So for instance, if I had a camera, I could shoot that, go home and spend your money.
Yeah, but that's not my wallet. So, but in theory, yeah. So I would highly recommend not using paper wallets unless you are pretty skilled in cryptocurrencies, because there's too many risks for someone that's not well versed in the industry. A funny story: I know a guy that lost over $1 million worth of Bitcoin because he had it stored on a paper wallet in a fireproof safe in his basement, which flooded, and it turned to paper mache. So there's enough, and he adds to the part of the 23%, right? So this is why I can see a lot of people aren't investing into cryptocurrencies, because of the fear of, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know how to store it, and I've heard enough stories of people getting hacked. It's the exchanges and people mismanaging their crypto because they don't know how to access it again. So the fourth way, and the way that I recommend, is a hardware wallet. So a hardware wallet is good for a number of reasons. Firstly, on here it has a number of digits that you create that code for you to access the hardware wallet itself. Secondly, they come with a backup. They come with 24 words, which is called a seed, just to confuse you even more. And the seed is something that if you lost this, you could buy a new one, enter in the seed, and then you would regain your access. So it's really beneficial for that reason. They cost about $150 or a little bit less than that to buy. Alex at the back actually works at CoinStop, which is Australia's largest hardware wallet provider, who I'm in partnership with, because this is the best way to store your cryptocurrency. It's the safest way to do so. This cannot be hacked or bugged if you plug it into a computer. Yes?
How about Trezor?
So this is the Ledger Nano S, which roughly has 70% market share because it's, in my opinion, a lot better to use. So the user interface on it's a lot more friendly, but the Trezor is another form which roughly has about 20% of the market share, and they are another form of hardware wallet. I don't like them personally, but again, it's up to you guys as to what you do. This is just to inform you of the different ways and processes that you can safely manage your crypto. So, a question. After going through this, who now understands the different ways that you can store your cryptocurrency and they understand some of the risks? Yeah?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So with the Samsung S10 phone,
Yes.
they are built in with the software wallet.
So they are building in a wallet into it. I'm not sure if it's a software or they're trying to do it as cold storage as well. I think they're actually trying to do it as a form of cold storage, so it's not effectively connected to the internet. But there are, I think there's a Galaxy as well that's coming out.
Yeah. So just now when you were doing the transaction, do you have a software wallet built into your phone?
No, you can download the software wallets. Yep, you download an app. And the good thing is you can back them up as well. So the same way you can back up a hardware wallet, you can back up a software wallet. So if I lost my phone, it doesn't matter because I've backed up the seed number of words, and I will just buy a new phone, download the app, input the new words, and then I'll regain access again.
There is a risk that if someone has your phone, that you could be hacked as well.
Yeah, and the same thing with your seed. If you lose your seed and someone else gains access to your seed, then effectively they can regain access to your cryptocurrency.
Or
So
if you write your seed down carefully on a little bit of card that comes with your Trezor and you give it to your girlfriend and ask her to put it in a jewellery safe, that's not safe either.
that's not particularly safe either. No. So there's a number of things. Also, something that a number of people don't realise, they work really hard to create wealth in cryptocurrencies, and then something happens to them and let's say they pass away in a horrible circumstance, no one knows how to regain access because they've never told anyone. So it's important to provide information and access to your heirs should anything happen to you, and this has happened in a number of examples as well. Awesome. Pillar 3, transacting. So this is a cryptocurrency exchange if anyone hasn't seen one before. So a few things about exchanges. They are extremely complicated if you've never used any form of exchange in the past, which I really don't like. Some of them have different interfaces on that make it a little bit easier. These things are called candles and they can confuse the hell out of people. There's a lot of different trading pairs. They're good because you can kind of access them from your phone, so you can invest from your phone if you want to, but also there's the downside, you need to give them ID. So uploading driver's license, passport, etc. That doesn't sit well with me knowing how many of them have been hacked and all the private data as well as the cryptocurrencies have been taken. So in that circumstance, I don't particularly like using exchanges myself, given that I know they get hacked all the time, given that I have to upload my private details, which completely undermines why Bitcoin was created in the first place. It was created as a form of peer-to-peer transaction. Exchanges are a third party. So it's kind of undermining what it was created for in the first place. But they serve a purpose. That's how the majority of people typically buy cryptocurrency. They use an exchange because it's an easy way for them to access. Never leave your crypto on an exchange, just in case you didn't hear. This is the second way, localbitcoins.com. So as you can see, I go down here to the bottom and you can go on cash or you can do it online. So here is rating and here's how many transactions they've done, a little bit like eBay. So you can see into their past and they give a bit of information as to what they want you to do, different prices, there's some feedback, and the limit. So I go back to the main page and I explain this again. So this is a way of you buying peer-to-peer cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin in this example, but you can buy other coins as well. So in the beginning, when I very first started investing, no one was selling for cash. So I used to come on here and I used to buy it off someone online. So I would only use Westpac because Westpac is the only bank you don't need any form of ID to send money. And I could send $10,000 at any given time, and I would send it to someone on here. I would take a photo of the receipt and then show them proof of the transaction, and then from that they would send me the Bitcoin. I didn't really like using that way, so now I've built up a network of buyers and sellers. So here in London, wherever, so I can meet people and buy and sell in cash, which goes back to the original roots of why it was created. In my eyes, it's the most private form to transact, and I like dealing with people in person. So there are two different ways that you can use. To touch on this is all about eliminating completely any unnecessary risk that people take. So the first thing is always do a test transaction. I didn't go through and send the guy $10,000 the first transaction we ever did. I started by doing smaller transactions to build up trust. The same as when I do a transaction on an exchange. If I buy some cryptocurrency, I want to do a test transaction to know that my transaction has worked. If I move my crypto from an exchange to a software, hardware wallet, again, I will do a test transaction to know that it's gone through. Once I'm happy, then I can send the rest. It's just, I watched a guy lose over $10,000 because he didn't do a test transaction. He sent it to the wrong address. 2 seconds, bang, 10 grand gone. Because he didn't take some fundamental steps that you can all put into place to completely eliminate your risk. You do not need to take this risk, but people still do. The next thing is never leave your money on an exchange. I'm sure you're getting the gist of this now, but it's very important to understand this because people still are leaving their money on an exchange, and you really should not be doing this. And I know people that have left hundreds of thousands of dollars on an exchange, and then I work with them and they were like, oh, what do you mean? What's wrong with that? And it's crazy because people don't understand this. And that scares me because I know people are investing into this significant amounts of money, and some people life savings. I know people that were remortgaging their houses when the bubble was going up in 2017. I was like, you are mad. Don't invest money that you don't actually have. And that's why another reason I don't like exchanges, because you can buy with a credit card now. To me, that's just irresponsible of the exchange giving people access to do that, but people do because they don't want to miss out. It's quite scary, and that comes down to mindset. And assess the source. So as I said, I did a number of test transactions. If I've ever had to use an exchange, I've always assessed which exchange am I going to use and why am I using them. So I go through a process. I don't just start throwing money at an exchange or an individual to do a transaction. I want to know that that's a legitimate transaction or a legitimate end user that I'm exchanging with before I do anything in business with them. And again, I would always do a test transaction first to understand they are a legitimate person to do business with. So after going through these two different examples, does everyone understand two ways that you can safely transact in cryptocurrencies now?
Joe, would you
Yes, please.
share with us your experience as a buyer and a seller using local Bitcoin?
Yeah, personally, I've always had a great success with it. I only needed to do a few transactions before I built up a relationship offline with them, so I don't need to use it anymore. And now I've got a network because I've been in the industry a while. I know a lot of people, so I do everything off of local Bitcoins, but it's generally speaking a great site. Check people's feedback. Have they got 100% feedback? How many transactions have they done? If they've done over 100 transactions, that's great. So just be aware. It's like you wouldn't go on eBay and buy a product off of a seller that's got 50% feedback, right? You just wouldn't do that because you know that they've got bad rating. It's exactly the same as local Bitcoins.
How long does it normally take for the cash to reach your bank before you release the Bitcoin?
So it depends on how you're buying. You can do cash, so you could go and meet them in person, or you can do online. And they usually give you an hour time frame. So if I went on there and said, cool, this is my order, I want to buy 1,000 Bitcoins. You can go on, hit the order, and they say, right, go to your bank within the next hour, make the transaction, take a photo of the receipt, send it through, and we'll send the Bitcoin straight away. So yeah, that's the process that I did when I first started out, but I don't feel comfortable sending people the amount of money that I transact in, so I like to do it in person.
When it was parabolic time during 2017,
Yes.
did you sell that through local Bitcoin as well?
No, through my network. Yeah, yeah.
So you didn't meet the person directly?
Not to begin with, but now I do.
Why do you do it now?
Privacy. I like to transact with someone in cash.
Right, okay, just cash instead of using the bank.
Yeah, I do everything in cash. Yeah, to remain fully anonymous and
What's their
private.
business model like? Sorry, I'm jumping in before someone's got their hand up. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, go on.
For the guys that are working in local Bitcoins, how's their business model working out? Because I've heard mixed reports about whether that's actually a good idea as a business in itself to be that guy who meets someone like you and thousands of dollars of change in hand. Have they got a good thing going on?
I'm not here to comment on the business model of those guys, but the people that I've dealt with are doing it for a reason. I assume they're making considerable amounts of money out of it, otherwise they probably wouldn't be doing it. So.
And the reason is perhaps a bit more complicated than we might. It's not just about money and coins.
Well, they will charge a transaction fee for the process, so I have to pay them a certain fee, and they get the benefit out of that. As an end user, the actual model of local Bitcoins, I don't know. So yeah, I'm not too sure, and I don't really care if I'm honest. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Bitcoin ATMs, I know they probably have a bad exchange rate.
Extremely bad. They charge almost 20%. I went down, there's one in Richmond that I went to use, and like, I'm a smartly dressed hippie is probably the best way to describe it. I believe giving power back to the people and trying to create equality, and that's what cryptocurrency effectively allows. So that's why I don't like things like exchanges where they're taking away what the process is built for. This is why I don't like ATMs when people are profiting again off people's ignorance as to what they're doing in the process. That's why I like things like local Bitcoins, because it's the root of why this is created, and it's generally really good transaction fees. It can be cheaper on exchanges, but again, I'm not here to give away my privacy to people. Does that explain what you were? Yeah, awesome. Cool. Yes, please.
Would you mind sharing what's the margin of doing, what's the percentage of
Yeah, certainly.
that you use?
Yeah.
Sorry. So local Bitcoin is a Bitcoin, right? And
Yeah.
in 2017, a lot of altcoins actually outperformed Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So if you actually wanted to go to the next time, you would at some point go to an exchange to buy something else because you don't have a local Bitcoin for every altcoin market out there.
No. So
You have to go to an exchange.
you don't. So there's things that I teach my clients of ways to exchange outside of exchanges and remain fully anonymous and private. So you do not need to use an exchange. Bitcoin is what's called the gateway drug. That's to get into the industry. Once you've got Bitcoin, you can do anything. And you can remain fully anonymous and private. You do not need to use an exchange at any point. Going back to this lady's question, roughly exchanges can be anywhere from 0.9 to 1.5% for a transaction fee, whereas local Bitcoins can be 3%, up to 3% on a transaction. And I'm happy to pay more to remain private and not have to give my details away. So again, that's a decision for you guys, what's important to you.
And is that why you do not do OTC as well?
And OTC is a way that you can do it, but again, they need your details. Yeah, awesome. So, we've gone back to this one, which is always a good slide to recap on anyway. So, question, who wants some free Bitcoin? Yeah? Everyone in the room? Cool. So, just quickly, on my Facebook page, if anyone hasn't already jumped on. If you jump on, it's Crypto Consulting Institute. And if you scroll down right at the top, you will see a question. So if you jump on the Facebook quickly and shoot in your answer, and the question is, how much was raised through ICOs in 2016? So just shoot your comment in below. I'll give you 15 seconds to do this because I don't want anyone to Google it. Sorry. So 15 seconds and we will move forwards and I will reveal the answer, and one lucky person will win some free Bitcoin tonight. And I'll give you a clue. 2018, there was $21 billion raised through ICOs. That's the only clue. And it's less than that. All right, are we ready? Cool, let's continue. And I will reveal, I can see the answers coming in. No Googling. And I will reveal the answer very shortly, and one lucky person in the room will win some free Bitcoin. Cool. So pillar 4, the value investor strategy. This is very important to understand, and it's being a value investor, not a hope investor. And this is how we can start to understand how to position yourself as one. Has anyone seen this before? A couple of people. So this is what's called the Wall Street cheat sheet. So the Wall Street cheat sheet has been used for decades in the stocks and shares market. And it goes through 14 emotional states. So when I start looking at this, I can almost go roughly August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So if anyone's been in the market long enough, they will understand what I was just talking through was 2017 into 2018, where the market went through a cycle. And you would have also seen everyone's emotion go hope, optimism, belief, thrill. This is when it was in the news, when there was thrill. Everyone was getting excited. I want to move into the market. Euphoria. We're buying Lamborghinis. We're going to the moon. It's never going to stop. We're going to be rich next week. Everyone was deluded because they were caught up in emotion. That's why I go through mindset being one of the most fundamental things. So understanding this cycle. Now, a quick question. Where would someone like to point out which emotional state is the highest point of risk? And where is the highest point of financial opportunity? So a question, why did the majority of the market invest in euphoria, and why did the majority of the market start selling down here? Exactly. So this is something that's really important to understand as an investor. This is one cycle. So let me show you some other really interesting things now. This is for stocks and shares. This is cryptocurrency. So based on the graph that I just showed you, would anyone agree, or would anyone disagree with me, that that graph almost looks identical? Would anyone agree? So let me show you something really interesting now. This is through 2017 to 2018. For those of you that's been around in the space long enough, that was the first bubble that I saw. That's when I first got involved in cryptocurrencies, just before this little bubble happened here, which was closely tied to the Cypriot bank bailout. Now let me put that under a magnifying glass. Does anyone know about the Cypriot bank bailout? Yeah, where they were actually taxing people that held their money in the bank to pay off their debt because they couldn't manage their money properly. And what's that? Yeah, so they started taking it from the people, which is quite scary. So that's one cycle. which looks very similar to the stocks and shares. This is the other cycle that happened before. Does that look identical to that, identical to the stocks and shares cycle that I showed you before? Would everyone agree? Yeah? So this is when I start talking about looking at historical events to predict the future. I'm not Mystic Meg, I'm not a genius. I just know how to see forward by looking back. That is how you predict the future, by looking at the past. I don't wave a magic wand and say I think Bitcoin's going to be at 20K. I use data, I use analytics to form a decision as to what is about to happen next, and I build my strategy around it. So these are microcycles. You saw that was a microcycle there. You saw that was a microcycle there. The reason these are microcycles is because it's in a macro scale, exactly the same as this. This was the internet microcycle, the dot-com boom, which I'm sure everyone's heard of. This dot-com boom, the shape of that looks the same as the shape of cryptocurrencies, the same as the shape in stocks and shares. So it's understanding that history has a way of repeating itself in different markets. Every market will go through a bubble. If we look at real estate, it goes through the same thing. It goes through ups and downs in cycles. So it's understanding patterns and trends based on past behavior. The interesting thing, if we look at this, that's $3.7 trillion. So the value of the dot-com boom was 3.7 trillion. Now, what's really important to understand is the cryptocurrency market went up to 830 billion at its peak. That is a fraction of what 3.7 trillion would be worth in today's money. So when we start understanding that, and we talk about missing the bus and missing out on the opportunities, in my opinion, this is not a financial advice, in my opinion, we haven't even begun. We haven't even scratched the surface. We're just getting started. And the same as when Bitcoin went from $200 to $1,136 back in 2013, everyone thought that was it. That was just the start. In the next cycle, it went up 1,994% higher. So it's pretty significant. So the reason I like to show you this graph is because this is where I spend my time. I spend my time here. There's 7 internet companies, largest internet companies in the world right now are worth over $5 trillion. 7 companies are worth more than what the entire value of the dot-com with every single internet company that took place is worth. So where I spend my time is looking into what coins are going to be the 7 coins of the future. So when I ask people that are involved in cryptocurrencies, how many currencies do you store in your wallet? And most people say over 10 coins. I know that they're not a real investor because they haven't been doing their due diligence, because there's no way that you can manage 10 coins in an altfolio, as called, and actually have done the due diligence around them and manage them going forwards. Why would you invest into over 10 coins? It means that you don't know what you're doing. You don't back anything. Investors that make money back a small number of things and they double down on them and they get results because they know what they're doing. So don't think, okay, I'll just spread across all these different coins and I'll hope that one of them goes really well and the others generally go up. Understand what you're investing into and look at what the 7 coins of the future are. And I'm not here saying Bitcoin is one of those. Cool. So does anyone think that understanding this strategy will help position them for the next bubble, and would have also, if we were sitting here when I was doing this in 2017, would have positioned them well for the bubble that was coming up? Would everyone agree? Yeah? Cool. Pillar 5, value investing. We're on the home straight now. So what defines a winning coin? There's a few things, but what's one thing in particular that I'm looking for? Any idea?
Yeah, I was going to say utility, really.
Cool. So one of the most important factors is team, which I'll be touching on, the team. Because people were creating these awesome coins, they were marketing them really well, and they had fantastic user case. The team never, firstly, had the capabilities to actually follow through and deliver on the project, and secondly, most of the time, they never even cared about delivering on the project. They just hyped something up at the right time, everyone got excited, threw money at it, and they never had any idea or way of creating it. They just wanted to siphon out people's hard-earned investment, which is pretty scary. So we'll touch on that in a bit more depth in a second. Cool. So we're about to reveal who's the winner of some free Bitcoin, which is exciting. So does everyone understand what initial coin offerings are? Does anyone not? Cool. Are you sure? I feel like you've been in this industry a while, but I'll share. No? Cool. So what an ICO is, it's like an IPO. So an IPO is when a business raises money and they then go and list on an exchange. So very similar process through the ICO. Investors invest money into projects, and then the project goes live and lists on an exchange to be publicly traded effectively. The only difference is with the ICOs, which this is changing and the industry is moving fast, when you invest into a business, an IPO, you're actually receiving something in return, which is part of the business, a share in the business. With ICOs, you're not receiving anything. You're receiving the future value of the coin increasing, and you're investing into the future product or service that they have. So that's something to be aware of. And there's different forms of coins coming out, like STOs and IEOs. So it's important to understand what's happening with the market, and the market's moving quickly. So you want to be up to speed and up to date with this. So as of the 14th of March, I should update that, there's roughly 2,200 cryptocurrencies that are active in the market right now. 10 years ago, we started with one. So you can see how the market has really progressed and is moving forward at a rapid rate, and I'll explain a bit more how and where they come from. So, the lucky winner of tonight. In 2016, there were 51 ICOs, 51, and $94 million were raised. So I'll go and have a look in a second who is the lucky winner. In 2017, 453 ICOs with 6.6 billion being raised, and in 2018, last year, 1,082, 21.6 billion was raised. So you can see the growth of the market and how that's exponential in such a short time frame, which has led to the huge growth. And I'll do a breakdown in a second. So if I go on here, hopefully someone's close. Does anyone feel like they're close? Yeah? Couple of hands going up. We've got confident people. Let's have a look. Here we go. So, dun dun dun. Drum roll, please. What have we got? Is that 20 million? That looks like 20 million. Camilla? Hey, congratulations. Do you have a software wallet?
No, I don't.
Do you have an iPhone?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. So if you go on your iPhone and download blockchain, so it's just one word, blockchain, which is a software wallet. Anyone can download it in the room. And once you've gone through and set that up, I will show you the transaction. Anyone can come round and watch that transaction take place. So why I like to give away Bitcoin, and I know that I'm going to kick myself one day because I've given away thousands now. Someone gave it to me, Martin Davidson, who was the ex-CEO of the Blockchain Center, 5 years ago, gave me some free Bitcoin. And if he hadn't done that then and there today, then for me, I know I wouldn't be in the position I am in today. So I like helping people get into the industry, and unless you actually own it and start getting involved and moving forward with it, then you'll stay sitting on the edge, and I'm forever grateful, so I always like to give it away to new people like yourself. Round of applause, everyone. Very exciting. Cool. So let me know when you've got that set up. You just go create a new wallet, and then I can come and send some free Bitcoin to you. Cool. So at the start, we spoke through different industries that are being affected. So these are cryptocurrencies not like built on blockchains, and the investment breakdown. Everyone knows Bitcoin as the leader, whereas finance actually sits in second, closely behind, or not closely behind, 10% behind infrastructure, which is where the majority of the money is going. But when we look at different things and where the money is going, I'll read out a few to anyone at the back that might not be able to see. Gaming and VR, that's really huge, because the kids are our future. Kids will start to use cryptocurrencies way before what we do through channels like gaming and VR, because they already are. They're already using tokens on their games to transact and upgrade their armor and all this crazy stuff. I don't know if anyone's heard of Fortnite. Fortnite's using Monero, which is a cryptocurrency coin. It's the most I think it's got 2 billion downloads or something. It's the most downloaded game ever. And I know a lot of people that are playing it, 2 billion people. They're already integrating cryptocurrencies into it because it's no different to what they already are using. So kids will get this technology way before we do, and they'll be using it because they already effectively are, but just a different type currently. In one of my favorites is charities. I love charities, but I don't like the business model right now where they have to take out 18 to 20% for administration, and you don't even know where your money's going half the time is the truth of it. And that's the reluctance for a lot of people to invest. When a charity is built on a blockchain and you invest your money into the blockchain, which is the charity, they will then divvy out the investment that they receive, roughly 95 to 99%. So if I put $1 in, 99 cents of it will go to who actually needs it. That's all recorded on the blockchain. I can see all of the transactions that take place. That to me is a real user case of this. Along with, we've spoken about supply chain and logistics. You mentioned, well, you didn't mention Power Ledger, I did, but utilities, energy is huge in every industry right now because it's having such a significant impact through traceability, transparency. People are getting confused. They look at price. If you look at price, then you're not looking at what's happening in the market, because you'll see the price go down. Bitcoin goes from 20K to 5K, oh, the market's doomed. No, everything's happening in the market right now. It's all happening where no one's seeing. People have got these jaded glasses on of how much money can I make in the space. You can make a lot of money in the space when you actually look at the projects and not the price. Does that make sense? Cool.
So this breakdown from last year?
Yeah, this is 2018.
2018.
Yeah. Awesome. So something I want to share with you now is something I share with my clients, and it's a 3-step rating overview. So when I look at investing into not only ICOs, but also into coins that are you good? Yeah. Awesome. Has anyone not seen a transaction take place before and wants to see one? Yeah, so if anyone that wants to see it jumps up and quickly huddles round. We've got a live demonstration, which is always fun. So in here, sorry, let me just jump in. This is a software wallet, and in the top corner, there's a thing that you can back up funds, and then it'll give you a combination of 12 words. That's effectively a seed, and you can use that seed if Camilla lost the phone. She could buy a new phone, download the app, and then restore it. So on here, this is her dashboard. So on the dashboard, you see how much Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, or Stellar this one holds. And here you click request. Request means that she wants to receive. I'm requesting cryptocurrency. So on my one, I will go into send, and then I will go into the amount that I want to send. I will hit too. I don't know if it'll scan upside down. It does. So I just scan her QR code exactly like I did on the screen, and I will click continue, send, and then it's coming up, send in transaction. It says success my end, bang, there you go. That's it. Transaction takes place, and if you go into your dashboard, then you've got $7 US sitting in there.
Should that not be 700 now?
And if you want to do reverse, I can give you mine.
So no one else took place. That didn't go through a bank or any other third party. That went from me to Camilla.
It was like that. It's only directly applicants that you've done it and then does all the blockchain work.
Exactly. Yep. So it's lodged on the blockchain and that's it. Transaction instantaneously takes place.
Does her public address change every time she checks?
Some of them do, some of them don't. So please be aware if you ever always copy, paste the public address and then just make sure that it hasn't changed, or if it has, that it matches.
Do you know if the ledger changes over time?
Some of them do. It depends on which coin you're using. Some of them don't. Cool.
What's the name of this app? Do you
That's called blockchain. Yeah. Cool. So.
Sorry, I've got that app on my Android phone. Will that be phone?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just the app. It doesn't matter what phone you're using, whether you're on a laptop. I thought you were after some more Bitcoin then. It takes cool. So 3-step ICO or cryptocurrency rating overview. So 3 things that I will look for when analyzing a coin. Oh, let me get live again. All right. So the first thing is hype. So what I find with cryptocurrencies is people create them, they think they create a great project and everyone will use it, therefore they don't need to do any marketing. If you don't do marketing, no one knows who you are, no one's going to invest, or no one's going to use your coin. And this is where a lot of people get confused and mistaken. It's important for them to have a solid marketing presence and a solid marketing budget, which you can see when they allocate their funds. You want to see them on different media channels and different mainstream channels as well, so people will invest. And this doesn't just go through the ICO process when they're being created. This is an ongoing process. For a business to grow, it needs to market. It's one of the foundation pillars of any successful company. So understanding what are they doing in terms of marketing and what budget are they allocating to it, which they're fully transparent on. Don't get caught up on a project that's been very well created and marketed but doesn't have any substance or doesn't have a team that will actually be able to deliver on it. The next thing is risk. We are shifting into a new paradigm here, like you mentioned, around utilities. It's a great example. I sat in front of David from Power Ledger, and David, one of the first things he said is, I wish I spent more on marketing. That was one of his biggest regrets. And the second thing he said is he's working with the government, trying to create new regulation so that this can be accepted and adopted, which is great. There are coins that go and try and go round the market, and they have challenges and regulations and risks set in place. So understand what is actually happening with certain coins. What are they doing? Are they actually abiding by the regulations? Are they trying to go around it? And you'll be able to do due diligence into this and actually find out.
I think the sort of changes he's looking for are exactly the sort of changes that governments do impose on their own industry, the power industry or the water business. And
yeah.
That's exactly what they're likely to constrain to make sure it does free up.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah, because they actually, there's 2 mindsets. They either want to kind of go against and try and go around the system, doesn't work, or they want to go with the system, partner with them and figure it out very quickly so they can scale. The government actually want this to grow. There was a misunderstanding of them and us, and I know that was kind of the situation with banks and Bitcoin, them and us. A lot of them don't necessarily, it's not a them and us situation. They want to work together to figure out a solution which is going to be better for everyone and provide more value to customers in the long run. And the third thing is return on investment. You want to know what is the return on investment of a project that you're investing into. And I call it upside down triangle, whatever. You can have it, you want to get the sweet spot in the middle. You want to invest into a project when taking into consideration all these factors, and they tick all of these factors. So you come to a common ground in the middle, and that is one of the things that you will use to evaluate whether a project is worthwhile investing into or not. So something I share with my clients is a 10-step investment checklist. It'd be irresponsible if I shared all of that with you guys tonight, but I will share a couple of the things to look out for. One of the first things that I mentioned, most important in my opinion, is the team. So you want to understand what's their background, what have they done before? Have they invested and created projects in the industry? Like David's got 20 years in utility and he's partnered with someone that's got blockchain experience and knowledge. That makes a great partnership. If you look at some coins, you can quickly tell they're going to be a scam by looking at the team, because they're trying to create something in an industry that they've never been in before. So what capabilities or what likelihood do they have of success if they've never actually done anything in that industry before? To me, that's a big alarm bell. The next thing's community and social media. Another great way to tell if something's a scam or not. If the coin isn't heavily active on social media and they don't have a presence, then I would start questioning if it's actually a legitimate coin, because they need to be marketing, they need to be out building a community, actually have an interaction with people. And if they don't, again, I would really question what are they doing? Very easy way to tell if a coin's a scam or not. But again, people can build good social media channels, so it doesn't necessarily mean this is yes or no, but do be aware of that. Oh, and finally, sorry I jumped there, got a bit excited. And finally, use the case, which you touched on earlier. Something interesting, people send me projects every day and they want me to look at them. And if I look at the team or if I look at the user case, I can quickly tell if it's a worthwhile investment. Someone sent me a coin, what I call a coin of the future. It was for self-driving cars, so they could operate on the road 24/7. So if they needed maintenance, they would also receive payment in this token, which is great. How many driverless cars are there on the road right now? So when I'm talking about the fastest path to cash, it's not a worthwhile investment. Sorry, I get out of the way of the picture unless you want me to be in it. It's not a worthwhile investment for me right now if I'm looking to create wealth here today. So be aware of that as well.
Can I ask a question about context? You're talking about new coins and ICOs. Is that definitely part of your thinking around the fastest path to profit?
It depends at the time of the market. 2017, yes. 2018, maybe not. My strategy will change depending on how the market's going. If I was to invest in ICOs right now, is it the best move? Maybe not. So that's why it's important to stay up to speed with the market and what's happening to build out a strategy and have knowledge around that. But good question. So some returns. Now, these sorts of returns are coins that we've seen, and there's a number of coins that have done these sorts of returns, which is really cool. So as I said, these are sorts of figures that you will never see in any other market, or I've never seen in any other market. Please share if you have, on a consistent basis across a number of coins in the market.
Are these returns up to now, or are they up to 2019 before then?
So these are fairly recent. I updated these a number of months ago. Yeah, from inception. Yeah, inception to where the project was at when I got the figures. So something really interesting to note. NEO used to be called Ant Shares, which I invested into. So it went from Ant Shares, moved across to NEO. I lost my private key, and that is the reality. You can make mistakes in this space. So the amount that I invested times the percent that it went up is a significant number. So do be aware. You need to be educated as to what you're doing. Luckily, I've made returns in other places now, but you need to be aware as to what you're doing when investing into the market, because there are a number of mistakes that you can make and that people still will continue to make. So please be aware of this. Yes, there's great returns, but there's also risks. So has anyone seen deadcoins.com? So this is a slightly old recording. It's a decentralized database of all the coins that have failed. There's 19 pages. This is an old recording from last year sometime. So I can guarantee there's a lot more than 19 pages now.
The coin's got no value now, really.
No, they're dead. They don't exist. Zero. Scam, 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 deceased, scam, scam, deceased.
Is there any dead coins that were like brought back to life?
Not that I'm aware of. No. And I wouldn't be investing in them anyway. So do be aware of things that happen. There are a number of coins that are scams that are still in the market right now that are scams and that will decease at some point. So that's why it's important to do due diligence and not just throw your money into a project that sounds cool. All right. So here's an example of a coin that I invested into. This is One Chain. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It was a financial based. So it listed 24th of March 2018 when the market was going down. And over 7 weeks, it went up 62%. Who thinks that's pretty cool, 62% in 7 weeks? So let me re-ask that question. Who thinks 62% is cool in 7 weeks, knowing that if you sink a substantial amount of money into a property investment as a deposit, and you're tied into a mortgage for a significant period of time, and you get probably 8 to 10% if you're doing extremely well in a year in a property? Who thinks 62% is now cool in 7 weeks? So where the money was made wasn't there. It was made at ICO level. So we were investing 34 cents. So we were actually pre-investing 26 cents because I was involved before that. 34 cents. At the time we were selling, it was $7 something. That's 21x. So if I put $10,000 into that market, that $10,000 would have been worth $210,000. Put 100 grand in, that's 2.1 million from one investment. That is why I do not invest into a lot of coins. That is why I take my time to make a measured and informed decision and make a solid investment. Does every coin that I invest into go up? No. Am I okay with that? Yes. It's unrealistic to think every investment that you make will be a successful one, but it's about building out a strategy that will get you to your goal that you want to achieve and spreading your risk in your portfolio, or altfolio as they're called, in a certain way that will reflect that. That is very important. Cool. So, I want you guys to write down what you would like to achieve in cryptocurrencies in the next 12 months from a financial point of view, if you had the right strategies and education set in place. What goal would you like to achieve? And I'll tell you a quick story. The reason that I like people to write this down, firstly, is when you have goals and you start putting your energy towards something, that's when the magic actually starts to happen, because you figure out a way to create. And the second reason is when I write down my goals before, I far surpass them, which is something I feel that you don't often do, and that just meant I wasn't thinking big enough. So write down a goal that you would like to achieve, and there's no right or wrong answer, but start channeling your energy into what you actually want as an outcome. So I'll give you a second to think about that. Get creative. The only person that limits us is ourselves. Take away the glass ceiling. So question, who thinks with the right support they can create wealth in cryptocurrencies and do it safely? Awesome. So I mentioned at the start there's nothing to buy tonight, but I will share an offer with you guys. And as I said, it's an application process only, which I'll talk through a bit about how that works and what that looks like. So what I help people with is creating wealth in cryptocurrencies, but doing it in a safe manner, understanding the fundamentals to master the space. That is what this is about. That is all I do. That's all I work with people and clients on. So the first thing is a strategic planning call. We spend time on the phone mapping out where you're at right now, put things into place, strategies, sources, so you can start to take action straight away and start to get outcomes as soon as we jump off the call. The next thing is cryptocurrency training. So this is a step-by-step process of the 5 pillars in depth. You get ongoing access to the tutorials forever, and any updates that I make, you again will receive any updates and changes forever. This will run through in depth every single step of the process, so you can understand how to master the space. You can watch the series over and over again. I've had clients that have watched it multiple times, so they really hone in on their skills of what they're doing. The next thing's live training. So you get to spend a couple of days with me in person. I've got one coming up this weekend, which is full, but I'm running another one fairly soon. And I will work with no more than 4 people, 4 new clients in the room. I've got my mastermind clients that come back and work with me, but no more than 4 new clients in the room at any one time, so I can really hone in with you and give you the support and guidance that you need to really kickstart your cryptocurrency investing career. And this is where we'll go through and set up strategies. We'll set you up safely, we'll get you started and ready to move into the market with the knowledge, the education, the mindset, all the safety principles, and again, setting you up in those through to buying and selling. We'll do transactions. I'll show you how it works. I'll send you some free Bitcoin. We'll go through value investing in depth so you understand how that works. And we'll also go through how to analyze an investment on a quick scale and in depth as well. And I break out strategies and show you the different types of strategies so you don't have to spend time in the market. I set you up with automated tools. This is built for people that work in 9-to-5 jobs, not someone that's doing this full time. And the reason it's built for that person is because that person was me. I was working 7 till 7, Monday to Friday, and weekends as well. And I didn't have any time really to allocate to this. So I had to build tools around that. And then that is exactly what I teach people now, how to invest into this without spending endless hours in the market, because it's not realistic. It's one thing I don't like about stocks and shares events, if anyone's ever been to one. They give you all these tools and all these different training materials that you can follow through with, and within the first month everyone has quit because they don't actually understand how to do it, or they don't want to spend hours doing it every day. I don't want to sit in front of a computer screen for hours every day. I've got a family, I've got better things to do with my time. I've got clients I want to work with. I don't want to look at projects and analyze my investment. I want to build out a tool and a system that I can follow over and over and get rewards and benefits of doing that without spending endless hours in the process. So that's what I set you up with. The next thing is a personalized support group, so you have full access to me to ask any questions that you want, and I will give you support and guidance, and I usually ask more questions back to you so you can up-level and upskill as an investor. This isn't for me to give you all the answers so that when you leave and you move forwards, you're still stuck in the same position. It's about growing you as an investor in the process, and that's part of what the support group is. As a bonus for anyone that applies tonight, I will personally purchase a hardware device for you, $150, and I will go through and set this up with you on the day together and do transactions, make sure you understand how it functions, and again, send you some free Bitcoin in the process so you cannot make any mistakes. And as a bonus as well, I'll also provide a cryptocurrency investment blueprint So you can use this to analyze every single project that you invest into, whether that's an established coin or a new coin, so you can start to work out what you're investing into. It's a framework that you follow and guidelines so you cannot make mistakes. You follow the step-by-step process and you will get the outcome that you desire. Awesome. So as I've touched on, it's an application process only and there's limited spots available. I will only work with 4 people at the next up-and-coming VIP immersion that I have. And those spots, I think a couple have already been taken or they will be taken very soon. So limited spots for it. Now, one thing that I want to share is be a great investor if you want success in investing. And why I say this is because I struggled in cryptocurrency probably for the first 2 years. I lost a lot of money, I wasted a lot of time doing the wrong things. And people are still doing that now, and they do that in every single industry that you can invest in. The moment of realization for me is when I started investing into mentors. And I invest in mentors now for health and fitness, for mindset, for cryptocurrency, for business, for pretty much relationships, for every single area of my life, because I see the value in it. Learning doesn't stop when you leave school or when you leave university. Learning should never stop, and you should have someone to guide you on that path. Whether that person is me or not, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying standing here, you must invest in me and I'm the right mentor for you. Maybe I'm not, that's a decision that you've got to make. But you will never, ever achieve the success that you want to unless you go to someone that's achieved what you want to show you the shortcut to success. So who should apply? If you're looking for freedom, if you're looking for the opportunity to go anywhere in the world at any point in time, as I said on the 7th next week, Tuesday, whenever, I fly to London for 2 weeks because my granddad's really unwell. I don't have to go and check with my boss if that's okay. I spent 6 weeks with him very recently when I was in Europe, and I'm flying there again in September. So I've got the opportunity to spend time with the people that matter most to me and have experiences with them. I like playing golf, so I go down to Mornington most days during the week when everyone else is at work. The course is empty. I don't queue up on a Saturday and Sunday when everyone else is hurdling there because they work 9 to 5 or 7 to 7, some people, during the week. And I like snowboarding, just in case you didn't see. And just other fun things. I like downhill biking and doing stupid stuff, trying to kill myself as much as I can in the process, but I haven't succeeded yet. But more importantly, who's important to you? Time is finite. Time is something that will run out. My granddad, sadly, I know will pass away very soon. That's okay, because I've spent so much time with him. I haven't been in a position where I've had to work. I've got clients that I work with, a small select handful. I don't work with a lot of people. So I've got time to actually invest into what matters most to me, and that's my family. So, and little James, as I said, he's 9 months old, and I don't want to live the way that my dad did. So now I get to spend so much time with him, and I'm forever grateful for putting myself in this position. And this is an opportunity that everyone here has in the room. Everyone has this opportunity. It's not limited. It's just whether you choose to make a decision or you don't. You either stay in the same position you are or you won't. It's when it's a must, not a need. I must change my life. I must get the outcome I want. That's the position I was in, because I didn't want to work 7 till 7. I didn't want to be strung, not living paycheck to paycheck, but I didn't want to be strung and stuck in the hamster wheel and in the system. I wanted to get money to work for me, and that's what I created, and that's why I can do whatever I want, when I want, with who I want. And as I said, everyone's got that opportunity here. So everyone wants to see results. What I will say around results, exactly the same as I said at the start, everyone's mindset's different, so everyone will get a different result in the room. It's what you're ready for, it's what you're ready to commit to. So these aren't massive numbers, that's 90,000 US. It's okay, it's pretty cool from where he initially started. So that was Michael that made that investment. Here's Kane, he had 33 grand on an exchange, which I slapped his wrist for, but he's made some pretty cool money in the process of investing in cryptocurrency. I like showing this one, again, it's not a significant amount of money, But if my dad can follow my process, who cannot use a computer to save his life, he smacks is probably the best word, the keys with his index fingers. He's the slowest typer I've ever met, but he still managed to make some decent returns in it when following a process to get an outcome. So I won't just show you graphs because anyone can create and paste graphs. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, I'll do my best. But here's some clients I've worked with that have shared some thoughts.
The main thing you really helped me with was my strategy. We're almost a year into to what was considered the hype period, and my strategy is still paying off. Joe first got me involved in crypto about 2 or 3 years ago when Bitcoin was sort of just emerging onto the Australian scene, and I really thank him for his advice at the time. He really kept me away from the hype and really kept me on a solid strategy and path, which as you can see, I'm still on the beach and still reaping the rewards. So fantastic, Joe, thanks very much, and see you soon, buddy. Cheers.
A real learning experience. I've really enjoyed it. The content has been exactly what I was after, and I think it's been a real strong base to kind of be a lot more confident with making some decisions in the cryptocurrency industry.
He's taught me all the safety skills that I've required for me to take on this journey really safely, and then he's walking me through how to actually invest a coin into a coin and what to look for. So I know now that I can go home, do my own research, know what to look for, and then I can check in with Joe again and see when he's doing the take next.
So I won't go on, but as a baseline, I've worked with a lot of clients over the last few years, and why I like to show this is because they are all different. I've worked with people that are retired. One of my mastermind clients is 23 years old. Addie is a mum of 3, and she wants to become independent and be able to actually put some money back into the family. I've worked with directors, I've worked with finance professionals, I've worked with couriers, I've worked with anyone and everyone you could possibly name. So don't limit yourself saying, I don't know finance, I've never invested before, I don't know IT. It does not matter. All you need is a must mindset of creating the future that you desire, and you will get the outcome. That is all that matters. Do not limit yourself and discount yourself of your capabilities before you've even tried. So if you want to avoid mismanaging your assets and becoming part of the statistics, if you want to move away from being a hope investor like the majority of the market still are, if you want to not be part of the statistics of people getting scammed from investing into cryptocurrencies, and if you want to miss out, if you don't want to miss out, I should say, on life-changing opportunities in a market that we've never seen perform like this before, then it's an application process. So I'll get the kind gentleman, Alex, to hand out the applications now. How it works is there's a few questions on the form. It's not rocket science. I've kept it nice and easy. So fill out the details in the application. You come up and connect with me personally on social media at the front. I will check in with you via social media with a message and let you know if there's an alignment for the call or not, because there might not necessarily be an alignment for us to do the application call. And if there is, we can organize a bonus $250 application call. So I usually charge $250 for the call, but as you guys have taken time out of your evenings, I want to reward that and offer a $250 application call for free. What I will say is, if you do not want to fill out the form, please don't. The reason I say that is because I want to work with people that are ready to align with me and ready to move forwards. There's a decision made on the call, whether it's a yes or a no, it doesn't matter, but it's an application process. There's no money to commit. It's a free call to take place for you guys here this evening. If you've got any questions, come up and let me know. Otherwise, thank you for your time and thank you for listening.